Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 20th day of June in the year of our Lord 2025. My beat is war today. There's no shortage of that, folks. A big one to talk about, and that is the attack by the nation of Israel upon the nation of Iran. Will the U.S. attack Iran's nuclear sites on behalf of Israel? We hold our breath to learn what Netanyahu will have the U.S. do for him. I have been a bit unsure how to approach this report, since I'm pretty sure that virtually everyone knows about Israel's attack by now. What most may not have considered, however, is that just less than 1 week, Israel, a nation of about 9 million people, almost completely destroyed Iran's ability to make war, either offensively or defensively. Iran, a nation of about 90 million people, or roughly 10 to 1 in population, was believed to be at the end of a decades-long pursuit of a nuclear weapon, or that is at least what Israel keeps telling the world. Donald Trump told Iran that he wanted to negotiate an end to the nuclear ambitions, and he gave them 60 days to enter into a deal to end their nuclear program. He at first seemed willing to allow enough enrichment for peaceful nuclear power, but later backed away and said no enrichment at all. Iran said, well, then we can't have a deal. So at midnight of the 61st day, Israel attacked and destroyed all the above-ground nuclear facilities of Iran and assassinated many of Iran's top military leadership along with its nuclear scientists. Now, it's pretty clear that when Trump invited them to negotiate, what he really meant was accept my demands or suffer the consequences. So what was Iranian leadership thinking by continuing nuclear enrichment and refusing to talk? I obviously don't know the workings of the mullahs' minds, but I can use what I do know to make a reasonable guess. I think they did not recognize in time that the world has changed dramatically in a very short time since October 7th, 2023, since that attack by Hamas on the nation of Israel and its people. Israel has essentially been at war, dismantling the Iranian proxy terrorist armies bit by bit. The terrorist proxies are the way that Iran spread its control across the entire region. The three Iranian proxy groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, have all been reduced to ineffectiveness by the Israeli attacks. Hamas, what's left of it, that is just a pile of rubble. The Houthis are under constant air attack, and Iran publicly abandoned them. Hezbollah had its leadership destroyed in a now famous exploding cell phone attack, and their sponsor in Syria has been overthrown. Israel attacked the Iranian anti-air defense system a few months ago and rendered it ineffective, obviously. Apparently, Israel's intelligence arm, the Mossad, has so completely infiltrated Iran that they built an Israeli military base inside Iran. Iran apparently didn't recognize any of that, and whether by inertia or poor thinking, just continued business as usual. With all their terrorist groups anemic or destroyed, they literally have no friends left. Nations like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the Emirates may pay lip service to Iran, but secretly, I suspect they are cheering the Israelis on. The other change that Iran didn't see was that Russia, their once staunch ally, has been strangely silent, other than offering asylum to Iranian leadership, that is. Russia is no longer a Middle East power and protector of Iran because it has all it can say grace over in Ukraine. Perhaps Russia is secretly happy about the war because it detracts the U.S. from Ukraine, and most importantly, it might raise the price of oil worldwide, thus helping Russia's one-product economy. China, Iran's other powerful friend, is presently trying to resolve a trade war with the U.S. and seems to have no desire to involve itself in a Mideast war, although there are rumors of Chinese resupply of Iranian munitions. So the Iranians, I presume, thought they would do what they always have done, that is lie, bluster, obfuscate, knowing that one red line after another would be set and then ignored. They apparently thought Trump was bluffing as Obama and Secretary of State Blinken had been doing for so long. If they could do that long enough, maybe, just maybe, they might have their nuclear weapon. All these things were miscalculations on the part of Iran, but when Israel attacked, Trump still continued the invitation to negotiate, which, as I said, is another way of saying it's my way, or you can have it the Israeli way. Unfortunately, he added a new wrinkle to his now new demands, and that is a term we haven't heard since World War II, unconditional surrender. In response to Trump's new demand, the Ayatollah said, quote, Tehran isn't threatened by absurd rhetoric, end quote. Well, the rhetoric may be absurd, but the bombs are not, and any sensible person should be able to see that. Is the Ayatollah a sensible person, or is he completely insane? I don't know the man, but my answer is no, he is not insane. He is instead driven by an ideology that comes from a book written almost 1,400 years ago. That book and its surrounding literature forms the basis of this man's belief system, and that belief system says, seek death instead of life. Wash the cities of the world in blood so the 12th Imam, the Mahdi, can return and make everything the way the book promised it would be. The biggest mistake any Western leader makes with the Ayatollah is that no one in Western leadership seems to understand this man actually believes the words in that book, and that will always drive his action. He doesn't seem like he wants to die, but he doesn't hesitate to allowing death to his own people and to so many others. No, he's trying to live out the book as he perceives it, and that means never-ending war until it finally brings forth the Mahdi. The Christian book, on the other hand, talks about a rising figure as well, but it refers to that figure as the Antichrist, or the man of sin. It is amazing how similar these two figures portrayed in two different books, one written over 2,000 years ago, one over 1,300 years ago, are to each other. Is the Islamic Mahdi the Christian Antichrist? I don't know the answer to that, folks. I leave it to the theologians, but I do say the portrayals are eerily similar. My point in all this theology is to say that to understand the Ayatollah, you must know at least something about his book, because that book will predict how he will react to the demand of unconditional surrender. What does this all taken together tell us about the question of, will Donald Trump attack Iran with a bunker-busting 30,000-pound bomb? I think he will. I think he will do it because neither of them will back down and because Netanyahu wants him to. The only hope is that the Ayatollah is holed up in a bunker somewhere and has given control of the decisions to others who might want to spare the Iranian people more bloodshed. To start America's part, Trump told the 10 million residents of the Iranian capital city of 6,000 miles from Washington to evacuate immediately. What do those words mean that the U.S., through its chief executive, plans to do to the capital of this foreign country? I'm afraid we're about to find out. Keep in mind the rhetoric of America first, but Trump said that since he invented that rhetoric, he gets to decide what it means. Maybe America first means always doing the will of Bibi Netanyahu, and if so, that makes the U.S. nothing but an Israeli vassal. What it means right now is that the chief executive of the United States is about to plunge the 330 million residents of his country into another Mideast war, the country against which the U.S. will direct its overwhelming military power has literally zero chance to harm the U.S., either militarily or economically. He told the Iranians, a proud people whose long history he probably doesn't know, that they must flee their capital immediately. What are all these threats and all this bloodshed and all the bluster about? I guess it's about Iran's ability to make its own weapons of mass destruction, right? Well, no, folks, I'm afraid not. See, the Director of National Intelligence is, if she is to be believed, Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, said that Iran has no nuclear weapons and is not developing them. In response, Trump said, quote, I don't care what she thinks, end quote. Tulsi seems to me to be a uniquely honest, intelligent woman And I say uniquely because she is in Washington, D.C., where those traits are virtually non-existent. Tulsi, ever the one with class, refused to throw the president under the bus, but I bet their next meeting was a little strained. I wonder why the U.S. has 17 different intelligence agencies tasked with gathering information for the president, all headed by Tulsi Gabbard. If the president's foreign policy knowledge is so great, it makes them all unnecessary. I also wonder if anyone knows that wars in this region of the world were ongoing more than 1,000 years before Jesus was on this earth. Old friend Bill Bonner points out to us that the book of Joshua, chapter 10, verse 40 and 11:15, says that Joshua, taking his directions from God himself, left no survivor, but he utterly destroyed all who breathed, just as the Lord, the God of Israel, had commanded him to do. Bill points out that the land back then must have looked a lot like modern-day Gaza. Tehran is apparently next in the sequence of events that I have pointed out. It's several thousand years old. We hear quite often a justification for Israel's actions as Israel has a right to defend itself. Well, Iran has the right to defend itself as well, but what it lacks is the means to do so. Yes, Iran appears defenseless, prostrate before its conquerors. Its destroyed armed forces, no match for the combined firepower of the United States and Israel. Some of you may be old enough, as I am, to remember the Shah, Raza Pahlavi, who ruled Iran from 1954 to 79 until he was overthrown by the Islamic Revolution. The Ayatollahs have therefore been in power for 46 years. The Shah and his son went into exile in 1979. He died in 1980, but his son, by the same name, still lives and wants desperately to return to Iran once the Ayatollah is removed. This is no endorsement of the Shah or his monarchy. But if he could keep the U.S. out of it, so much the better. The son says he wants traditional democracy this time instead of a monarchy. Well, cooler heads might prevail, but I don't think so, folks, because voices in opposition like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, are dismissed in insulting ways, but listen to Warhawk Lindsey Graham, who insists that there should be American boots on the ground in Iran. Quote, "We live in a world where you've got to confront problems. I can't guarantee your freedom and your safety unless you're willing to fight for it. If we don't fight for our freedom, we will lose it," end quote. Well, Senator, how our freedom depends on American troops in Iran, the senator doesn't explain to me, but I do know he has no plans to be one of those troops. Finally, folks, finally, put me down as vehemently opposed to American attacks on Iran, America fighting Israel's wars. This country has already destroyed 5 countries for Israel and Iran. The head of the snake, as the neocons call it, is next, apparently, here in America. The big, beautiful bill proposes to remove 40% of the fees doctors receive through Medicare. Infrastructure is crumbling. Airliners fall from the sky, but we have $1 trillion plus defense budget and money to drop 30,000-pound bombs in countries that have not harmed us and are not a threat to us. $37 trillion of debt is a far worse threat. That's the way I see it anyway. Until next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.